This coming Shabbat is known as Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat of comfort. We have on this Thursday, Tisha B'Av, the saddest day in the Jewish calendar. Right after the saddest day, we go up until the next week. We have Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, which is the happiest day in the Jewish calendar. Like in life, after the lowest low, we get the highest high. That's how the Jewish people work. That's how the moon works. The parashah that we study, if you look good into the details of the parashah, it also has tremendous comfort. Let's take a stroll through the parashah. The parashah begins with something very sad. Moshe says, God, I pray to you. The Jews started conquering the two giants of Sichin and Og. Please, oh God, let me cross over the Jordan River and let me see the Holy Land. And God said, I had enough. I don't want to hear from it. You are staying in the desert. If you look at this seems so harsh. This is Moshe Rabbeinu, our beloved Moses, who did everything for his nation, was ready to die for them. And at the end of the game, he can't go into Israel. This is what he wanted for, this is what he prayed for. Says the holy Tzemach Tzedek. It says that Moshe Rabbeinu was like the sun, and Joshua was like the moon. What's one of the differences between the sun and the moon is that the sun is always there very bright. The moon waxes and wanes until it becomes the abyss. There's ups and downs. In the 15th of the month, it's a full moon, etc. Moshe Rabbeinu told God, I want to go into Israel. I don't want Jews should ever slip and fall. I want it to be smooth sailing forever and ever, like the sun. And God says to him, I want to give them a greater good. A good that will only stick and only be created if they go through the ups and downs of life. This is comfort. We look at the difficulties of life, not that this is terrible, but in it there is a great light hidden that could only come to us through the difficulty. We still say, God, you could do anything. You could give us this great infinite light even without difficulty because you're above nature. But still we don't look at the bad as bad and fall into despair. We know there's certain goods that could only come to us by the difficulties we encounter. So it's all good. So that's the beginning of the portion. The beginning of the portion is telling us that everything is for our good. We have it also on 436. The passage says, and we say it every time before we take out the Torah. Atorei Solodas. You showed us, God, that you are God. Einoid milvade, there's nothing besides you. Says Rashi, when you gave us the Torah, you ripped the heavens, and we saw there's only you. This is pretty impressive. Could you imagine standing there by Mount Sinai and feeling God everywhere, and there's no world? It was amazing. Then the passage says, 39, V'yodato hayoim, you should know today that God is everywhere. After God gave you the Torah, the revelation stopped. Now it takes hard work, meditation, and prayer to know that just like it was when you saw God giving the Torah, that's the reality always. You cannot get that. It's a lot deeper. What's greater? When God shows you everything. But there's a deeper connection to God. That's why it says, V'yodata hayoim, you should know today, just like the day lasts forever and is powerful, so too is this knowledge very powerful. Because when you do it on your own and you swim against the tide of life, the world says science runs the world, finances, and you say there's God, He runs everything. And you live like that, in spite of the veil that's put on the world, in spite of the exile that is so dear to God, that creates such amazing light, the light of Mashiach. When you serve God, when things are good, and you have clear revelations, that is not the ultimate. That's a Shabbos of comfort. It says in Hayoim Yoim something very beautiful, that when Mashiach will come, we're going to miss the days in exile. We're screaming, we want Mashiach now, and we're davening for Mashiach. We're going to miss these days. How is it possible? Because when Mashiach comes, it is what it is. You can't accomplish something, you can't change anything. However, in the days of exile, when there's a veil on godliness, and you pierce that veil, and you pray, and you realize that everything is God, and it's all good, and even though you can't see it, that's accomplishment, that's causing something, and that's the comfort of the parashah. We also have, in this week's parashah, the 10 Commandments. What's the difference between the 10 Commandments that it's in Jethro and the 10 Commandments in our portion of Vaetchanan? The 10 Commandments in Jethro are the 10 Commandments in the first tablets. Then the tablets were smashed, and we got the second tablets. We're on a lower level. But God told Moshe Rabbeinu, don't feel bad. The first tablets only had the 5 books of Moses and Joshua. And that's it. These tablets are fully loaded with Talmud, with Zohar, with Medrashim, a lot more stuff. Why did they get more? Because they sinned with a golden calf. And the answer is because this Torah, even though they're on a lower level, they were like angels by the first commandments. They were at such a high level. But because they slipped, they got more Torah and they have energy to pierce the veil and to reach to a much higher level because they struggle. Now we see why this parashah is a parashah of comfort. There's a beautiful piece of Tanya. Tanya says, why was the generation ready to enter the land of Israel given the mitzvah to reach Shema? And the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, when godliness was shining in the desert, everyone served God. There was no issues. You were traveling, you had all your needs met, all your food, your clothes were pressed every morning with the clouds. You didn't have a single bill, a single worry. Of course they served God. But when they were ready to enter Israel, to the land of commerce, the land of business, they were ready to enter the world, they needed the power of Shema. They needed the power of Shema to be able to pierce through the darkness of the physical world and change the world. So if you look at the parashah, you see that the parashah is a parashah of comfort. The difficulties are to bring out an inner strength in us and to bring about the light of Mashiach. I will just conclude with a wonderful explanation of the Rebbe on the Talmud in Makos. There's a famous story. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and Rabbi Tarfon were walking together with Rabbi Akiva. And they saw a fox playing on the place of the Holy of Holies. They all ripped their clothes when they saw the Temple Mount destroyed. But when they saw this fox, they started crying. And Rabbi Akiva was laughing. So they asked Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? And Rabbi Akiva says, tell me why you're crying. And they told him, how could we not cry? A place where even the Kohen Gadol could only go on Yom Kippur. Now there's foxes running around. How could we not cry? And Rabbi Akiva says, this is why I am laughing. Because I see, it says a passage, there were two prophets, Uriah and Zechariah. One prophesied about the destruction, and one prophesied about Mashiach. Why did the passage put them together? To tell us that until the prophecy that Zion will be plowed like a field doesn't happen, Mashiach can't come. Now that I see that this is happening, now I know Mashiach will come. To which the rabbis responded, Akiva, you have comforted us. Akiva nichamtonu, you comforted us. What was Rabbi Akiva telling his peers, his friends? He was saying, look at a field. When a field is plowed, no one will say, look what they did to the field. They ruined it. They took every living plant and they turned it over and they made a destruction. Everyone will say, from this destruction, that's why the land will now bring so much new wheat into the world. Rabbi Akiva saw in the destruction that this was fertile ground to bring about the redemption. Just like I put a piece of wheat in the ground. Before it germinates, before it grows, it needs to totally rot. So this is what the parashah is telling us. Be comforted. Know that the difficulties of life are not because God forbid, despises you and is angry with you. It's because He loves you so much, He wants to give you amazing good. And this attitude helps you to deal with life and also helps you that the negative things in your life will be transformed into revealed good. May we merit very soon, where we don't only talk about this on a YouTube video, but we see with our physical eyes the good that we have accomplished through our struggles and what we've done in the days of exile. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat of comfort and all good.